Hi, welcome to the Silverthorne Pulse. I'm Kim Jardam, and I'm here with Town Manager Ryan Highland. And we are here to discuss the work session and council meeting for February 14th, 2024. Thanks for being here.
Thanks for having me.
So let's start off with work session and the regional traffic impacts discussion that was had. This was mostly regarding MLK weekend and some of the challenges that we had during that time.
Yeah, we've had a number of meetings since that weekend, and so just a bit of a conversation with council about some of those meetings and some of the possible mitigation opportunities that we might have. I think we've talked about, there's not necessarily a silver bullet where you can fix traffic when you have, I don't know, half the state kind of coming through Silverthorne with Berthoud closed that weekend. But we've had a few meetings within the county, all of the stakeholders here, and then Silverthorne and the county had a meeting with CDOT last week, which was productive and some good conversations there. And I think where we're headed is looking, along with the emergency manager for the county, at really a comprehensive study of all traffic and infrastructure and traffic mitigation strategies. So there was some conversation, as we've talked about publicly, with the potential for metering into Silverthorne from the north in a situation like we experienced with Berthoud. CDOT didn't rule that out completely. I think there's a conversation there, but I think the idea is if we're going to be thinking about a practice like that, looking countywide at all the different bits of infrastructure and how that might work. So a lot more to come there, lots of conversations about communication and how do we communicate to the public, how long it's going to take to get somewhere so they can make an informed decision and maybe not get on the road if it's going to be 7 hours from Winter Park to the tunnel. It's despite the messaging that you put out, people are just going, and it's frustrating for us and CDOT because then they start calling 911 wondering how long is it going to take, and that's not exactly a great use of 911. Anyway, like I said, a lot of conversations there. There was a little bit of conversation about, in the CDOT meeting, the auxiliary lane that now comes down from Frisco to Silverthorne, and we were seeing that back up when we were kind of at some of our higher holiday volumes. CDOT is working with Google because Google Maps was still telling folks that that was a 2-lane exit, and so they think that was causing some of the backups there. So I was using the phrase more to come with council a lot in the meeting, but it's true. There's so many components to traffic in our community. One thing that is great, we do have, CDOT's going to get us, I call them the clickers, I don't know what they're officially called, but the ability to control the traffic boxes at some of the intersections in Silverthorne so that when we do find things gumming up, we can, if the interstate's open, flush some of that out manually by having our officers or Public Works controlling those intersections. So Chief Carey with our police department will be working with CDOT. So more conversations, but all aimed at not ending up in the complete gridlock that we ended up in on MLK.
Wow, that's great news about the clickers.
Yeah.
Being able to control that.
It is. And thanks to CDOT, they had, that meeting we hosted in Silverthorne, and we had, Director Lou was there and the heads of Region 1 and Region 3 and their operations staff. And so really working together to come up with some solutions.
Great. Excellent.
Yeah, it was good.
Moving on to FERC, the Family Intercultural Resource Center. Since COVID, there were food insecurity challenges, and there was a lot of COVID funding out there that was supporting that. But now with that funding going away, the FERC is asking for more support from local municipalities. Yeah,
so their executive director was at the mayor-managers meeting on February 1st, along with one of her directors, just outlining kind of the state of FERC, if you will, with, as you mentioned, food service. And so, during COVID, that spiked. The graph, I think we can put that up on the screen here. It's kind of insane how those needs went up. And like you mentioned, funding from feds and others through COVID was able to kind of meet that challenge, but that's gone away. But the numbers that they're serving are still going up.
Wow.
So there was a request that each of the towns in the county consider $50,000 this year and next year. And so all of the electeds were going to go back to their respective boards and see if they could get that funding. So I know that Breckenridge did that with their council, and that was approved. And then at our meeting, the mayor made that request of council, and was kind of an instantaneous approval. I think people really understand, that food is that basic need in our community. And with rents where they are, it is really this food assistance that's allowing people to still live and work in the community. So that was approved by the council, $50,000 this year, $50,000 next year for FERC.
Great. Excellent. So we have an election coming up in April. We've got several candidates for town council, and we have 2 ballot questions.
Yeah, we worked with the council again, just as we do at most of the meetings recently, going over the calendar, letting them know what's coming up. We've got on March 1st, there will be a Tabor notice that's required in an election that will go out to all registered Silverthorne voters, so they'll see that in the mail. And just some conversation with council about the numbers that people will be seeing. There are some significant increases in our spending in recent years, but unfortunately the Tabor notice does not allow much description of that, and so we were making sure, our finance director Laura Kennedy was making sure that the council was informed on the differences in those numbers, and making sure that council can explain that to the public if they get questions. So things like, yes, it looks like our spending has increased significantly recently, but a lot of those are one-time expenses, including when we had the opportunity to purchase Burger King, and when we had the opportunity to purchase Pizza Hut, and so on and so forth. So you don't get to explain that in the Tabor notice. It looks like you've really gone crazy with your spending, but one-time expenses that we won't see again. So the Tabor notice will come out to our voters March 1st. The ballot is at the printer, so we've got sample ballot that the council looked at. That Tabor notice that I mentioned also gets published in the paper on 4 different occasions. And the first day mail ballots can go out is March 11th. So starting that day, that's when folks will see the ballot. They will see there was a drawing. It's a random drawing to set the order of the council candidates. So
Right.
our voters will see vote for not more than 4. And they'll see John Glassman, Tim Applegate, Tanisha Spagnolia, Amy Manka, and then a line for a write-in candidate. So, and then the 2 ballot items that we've talked about before, lodging tax increase of 2%, and the plan there would be to fund the rec center expansion, which I think we're getting closer to being able to bring at least some conceptual drawings and some of the uses into this venue here, and we can inform our public about what that might look like. And then the second question is on workforce housing debt, and just being able to, as we've talked about before, leverage the dollars that are coming in, essentially get a loan against those if we've got big projects that we don't have cash flow up front to utilize. So, pretty big election. You've got council seats up and a couple of really important ballot questions, so encourage our folks to look at that Tabor notice, and if they've got questions, ask a council member, give us a call at Town Hall, and make sure to get out and vote.
Excellent. So we've had quite a bit of news lately about mountain lion activity, specifically in the Silverthorne area, and that's been a bit of a concern for folks with pets and obviously small children and everyone in the community.
Yeah, and so our staff and the mayor have been, and I know our county commissioners as well, have been in touch with CPW and others, just making sure that everybody's communicating, and that I know CPW, when the public sees activity that's maybe out of the ordinary or during the daytime, or just in general, they want to know kind of where the cats are, and they're tracking. And I know they were able to trap one and had to euthanize it because I think it is, was not behaving as a normal cat would, eating dogs and goats, things like that, unfortunately. So just making sure that we're communicating all that best practices that CPW puts out there, and sharing that with our folks, and yeah, making sure you're going out with your pet at night and just being a little bit more vigilant than we've had cats here forever, but right now it looks like with a couple of those cats, just trying to make sure that everybody is being a little more cautious than usual.
We're so much more aware of them now that everyone has ring cameras on their front porches and that sort of thing, right?
Yeah, it is easier to know where they are, and so and instantaneously, I think on social media, those get posted. So
yes. So we have a vacancy on the Wildflower Child Care Center board. Mayor Pro Tem Amy Menka was serving in that position, but had to step down. She has a lot to juggle in her public service and her personal life and that sort of thing. So we have a new council, a new member on the board.
Yeah, so Councilmember Jonna Glassman is going to fill that seat. Just a little bit of the structure of why that seat exists for the town. We have the Silverthorne Child Care Authority, which is a separate legal entity that consists of the town and Summit County, and it was that partnership that built that wildflower facility. And so as the owners of that facility, we lease the space to Tierney is the executive director and her team at Wildflower, and through that lease, there is a provision that the town of Silverthorne and the county have an opportunity to have a seat on the Child Care Center's board itself. And so that is something that, thanks to Amy Menka for serving when there was a pretty heavy lift, getting that center open and getting basically Tiernan and her organization started with their board. So thanks to Amy, and then thanks to Jonna for stepping in. And that's Wildflower.
Excellent. And we had some updates from Public Works Director Tom Doherty regarding Public Works.
Yeah, a couple of water issue updates, kind of bigger global water issues that are kind of West Slope things with Denver Water, and then also CDOT. There's a decision, I think, before the Transportation Commission about dividing particularly our transportation region into two. And so Tom was just giving an update to the council on where that stands, and the town's position is that dividing our Intermountain TPR into two would be beneficial, I think, and so we have supported that. So we'll see where that goes.
Great. Green Village parking lot, some good news for the public regarding that.
We, for the last year, have been leasing that from the developer that owns it, so we can preserve that as public parking. I think they had intended to fence that off, kind of getting ready for development. I think the development's a little bit further in the future still, so we're going to work with them to lease that again, hopefully for another year at least. So that parking reservoir will be open for folks that work in that area or when we have events. So that'll be on a future regular agenda.
Great. So moving into the regular town council meeting of February 14th, we had an art board new ex officio member appointment, and that is local artist Ryan Halsney.
Yeah, Ryan's worked with the art board for a long time, and so just a new title, I guess, for his appointment. And he, I think pretty well known in the community, has done a lot of murals around, including at the Art Spot. I think he's got one over at Red Buffalo Coffee, Angry James. Anyway, I think a lot of folks know Ryan, so appreciate him continuing to serve and be involved, and he's been great.
And that will be a 3-year term for Ryan, so that's great. There was also a resolution approving an IGA, which is an intergovernmental agreement for aid in hazardous substance incidents, and this is just a regular housekeeping. Kind
of housekeeping. It's an IGA that's been around for a long time and just needed to extend the term, and so it just defines how hazardous material incidents are responded to in the county, involving not just Silverthorne, but you've got Summit Fire and EMS in the county, and so just defines kind of how we all work together.
Great. There was another resolution. This is exciting news about the Adams Avenue extension and the Trent Park expansion. So we've hired a program manager, if you will, to oversee the projects.
Yeah, it's a big project, and so everything from bidding and managing, and we've got some federal funds that are coming in on that project, and so there's a lot of reporting requirements there. So this was something that we put out a request for proposal competitive and interviewed folks, and DJ and A will be serving that function for us. So yeah, it's exciting to be close to bringing that project to the community.
Yes.
Long time
for sure.
planning, and yeah, just quickly, I know we've talked about that before, but an expansion of Trent Park. So that overflow lot that's dirt right now will become a great park, and then the Adams Avenue extension will connect that park over to the Smith Ranch neighborhood through Willowbrook.
Great.
So looking forward to getting started this spring.
Great. And with that whole new neighborhood of Smith Ranch, that park will serve their community, their
Yeah.
neighborhood as well as
Yeah.
Willowbrook.
Yeah, it'll be a great neighborhood park for Smith Ranch.
Great. That is it for Wednesday, February 14th.
That was it.
We will see you next time. Thank you so much for joining us.